Captain Jake Morrison walked down the main hallway of the New Horizon, looking out the big windows at the stars. The ship was quiet now. Most of the 2,847 people on board were sleeping. They had been traveling for 3 months, and they only had 2 more weeks before they reached their new home on Haven's Rest. Jake had been a ship captain for 15 years, but this was his first time carrying so many families. There were kids running around the ship every day, playing games and asking questions about space. Their parents were excited too. They were going to build a new life on a fresh planet, far from the crowded cities of Earth. Dr. Lisa Grant was in the medical bay, checking on an old man who had gotten sick. She was the doctor for all the people on the ship. Lisa was good at her job and kind to everyone. The families trusted her, and she took care of them like they were her own family. "How is Mr. Peterson doing?" Jake asked when he found Lisa in the medical bay. "He will be fine," Lisa said, washing her hands. "Just a small cold, nothing serious. Are you worried about something, Captain?" Jake shrugged. "Just thinking about all these people. It's a big responsibility." Lisa smiled. "They chose to come, they want a better life. You're helping them get there." Jake nodded and left the medical bay. He walked to the bridge where his crew was working. The bridge was the control center of the ship. From here, they could see everything around them in space. "Everything looks normal, Captain," said his second officer, Mike Torres. "No other ships around. We should reach Haven's Rest right on time." Jake sat in his captain's chair and looked at the screens. Space was big and empty, just like always. He had made this trip many times before, carrying supplies or small groups of people, but never this many families, never this many kids. Suddenly, the ship's alarm started making loud noises. "Captain," Mike shouted. "Ships coming out of hyperspace. Big ones." Jake jumped up and looked at the main screen. 5 huge ships appeared around them, much bigger than the New Horizon. They were dark and had strange shapes, not like human ships at all. "Are they friendly?" Jake asked. "I don't think so, sir," Mike said, his voice shaking. "They're pointing weapons at us." The radio crackled and a voice came through. It didn't sound human. It was deep and harsh, like metal scraping against metal. "Human vessel, you will stop. Your engines now. You will not try to run. You will not send messages. If you do what we say, no one will die today." Jake felt his heart beating fast. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all scared. He had to think quickly. "This is Captain Morrison of the New Horizon. We are a civilian ship with families on board. We don't have weapons." "What do you want?" The alien voice laughed. It was not a nice sound. "We know what you carry, human. We know how many credits your government will pay to get them back." Jake understood now. These were pirates. They wanted to take his people and ask Earth to pay money to get them back. He had heard of this happening to other ships, but never to humans. "Mike, send a message to Earth right now," Jake whispered. "I can't, Captain. They're blocking all our communications." On the screen, Jake could see smaller ships coming out of the big alien vessels. They were heading straight for the New Horizon. "Captain, they're going to board us," Mike said. "What do we do?" Jake thought about all the families sleeping in their rooms, the kids who had been so excited about their new home, the parents who had sold everything they owned to make this trip. "Wake everyone up," Jake said. "Tell them to stay calm and do what the aliens say. Don't fight back. These people have weapons, and we don't." The alien ships attached to the New Horizon with loud, metal sounds. Jake could hear the aliens cutting through the walls of his ship. Soon the doors opened and strange creatures walked in. They were tall and thin with gray skin and big black eyes. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that looked very advanced. Jake had never seen aliens like these before. "I am War Commander, Vex High," said the leader of the aliens. He was bigger than the others and had scars on his face. "Your ship now belongs to the Zephyrian Collective. Your people are now our property." "They're not property," Jake said, trying to stay brave. "They're families. They're just looking for a new home." Vexai laughed again. "Your government will pay well for families, especially families with children." The aliens spread out through the ship, gathering all the humans in the main dining area. Jake watched as scared families held their children close. Some people were crying. Others looked angry but stayed quiet. Dr. Lisa Grant was helping calm people down, talking to the scared children and telling them everything would be okay. But Jake could see in her eyes that she was scared too. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "HFY. Now we go to our base and we wait," the alien commander said. "We will send a message to your Earth government. They will have 72 hours to give us what we want, or your people will be sold as slaves in the outer systems." Jake felt sick. "How much do you want?" 50 billion credits in rare metals. Plus your latest computer technology. Your government pays this and your people go free. Very simple. And if they don't pay? HFY's black eyes looked cold. Then your people disappear forever. But don't worry, human. Every government pays. It's cheaper than fighting. It's how business works in the galaxy. As the aliens took control of his ship, Jake realized something important. These pirates thought humans were like every other species in the galaxy. They thought Earth's government would just pay the money and accept the loss. But Jake knew something the aliens didn't know. He knew that humans were different. He knew that when someone threatened human families, especially human children, the response would not be what these pirates expected. As the New Horizon was pulled toward the alien base, Jake looked at Dr. Grant and the other humans. They were scared, but they were not broken. And somewhere far away, Earth was about to get a message that would change everything. Admiral Ben Carter was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency alarm rang through the Terran Defense Command Center. He put down his cup and ran to the main control room where dozens of people were working at computers and talking on radios. "What's happening?" Ben asked his assistant, Lieutenant Colonel Mary Johnson. "We got a message from space pirates, sir. They took the New Horizon and all the people on it. They want 50 billion credits and our newest computer technology." Ben felt his stomach drop. The New Horizon was carrying almost 3,000 people to their new home. Families with children. Good people who just wanted a better life. "Show me the message," Ben said. On the big screen, the ugly face of War Commander HFY appeared. His voice was cold and mean as he spoke. "Earth government, I am HFY of the Zephyrian Collective. We have your ship New Horizon and all humans on it. You have 72 hours to bring 50 billion credits in rare metals to these coordinates. You will also bring your newest computer designs. If you do not do this, we will sell your people as slaves. This is how business works in space. Do not try to find us, do not try to fight us, just pay and your people will live." The message ended, and the control room was very quiet. Everyone was looking at Admiral Carter, waiting to see what he would do. "Get me President Walsh on the phone right now," Ben said, "and call all the fleet commanders. Tell them to come here immediately." Mary nodded and started making calls. Ben looked at the star map on the wall, thinking about those families trapped in space. He thought about the children who must be so scared right now. 20 minutes later, President Amy Walsh was on the video screen from Washington. She looked tired and angry. "I saw the message, Ben. How bad is this?" "Almost 3,000 people, Madam President. Families with kids. The pirates think we'll just pay them and let this go." Amy's face got hard. "What do other governments usually do in this situation?" "They pay, ma'am. It's considered the cost of doing business in space. Most species think it's better to lose money than lose lives fighting." "And what do you think we should do?" Ben was quiet for a moment. He thought about his own children back home on Earth. He thought about what he would want someone to do if his kids were taken by pirates. "I think we should show these aliens that humans don't work like other species, ma'am." Amy smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. "Make it happen, Admiral. Get our people back." The video call ended and Ben turned to the room full of officers who had arrived during his talk with the president. "Gentlemen and ladies, we have a situation. Pirates have taken human civilians, and they think we're going to pay them. They're wrong." Captain Roy Jenkins, commander of the big warship Terra's Wrath, stepped forward. "What are your orders, sir?" "I'm putting together Task Force Retribution. Roy, you're in command. Take everything we can spare. I want the biggest show of force in human history." "How big are we talking, sir?" Ben looked at the star map again. Everything, Roy. 12 heavy cruisers, 36 destroyers, and all the support ships they need. I want these pirates to see what happens when you threaten human families. The UA room was quiet again. What Ben was suggesting was huge. It would take almost a third of Earth's entire space navy to do this. Sir, said Captain Susan Lee from her chair. That's a lot of ships for a rescue mission. What if other enemies attack Earth while we're gone? Then we fight them too, Ben said simply. But right now, there are human children scared and alone, in space. That's what matters. While the military prepared, something else was happening far away in space. On the captured ship New Horizon, Dr. Lisa Grant was not sitting quietly like the aliens expected. She was talking to Pete Williams, who took care of the ship's engines. She was also talking to Kate Barnes, who used to be a security guard before she decided to move to Haven's Rest. We need to be ready, Lisa whispered to them in the corner of the dining hall where all the humans were being kept. I know Earth. I know our government. They're not going to just pay these aliens and hope for the best. What do you mean? Pete asked quietly. I mean, Earth is going to come for us, and when they do, we need to be ready to help. Kate nodded. She understood. What can we do? Pete, you know this ship better than anyone. Can you make problems for the aliens, make their computers not work right, make the lights go out? Pete smiled a little. I can do that. These aliens don't know human technology. They just stuck their own controls on top of ours. I can mess with things without them knowing. Good. Kate, we need to get people ready. Not to fight, but to move fast when the time comes. Can you do that without the aliens noticing? Kate looked around the room at all the scared families. I'll talk to the parents, tell them to be ready to grab their kids and run when I give the signal. Meanwhile, back at Earth, the biggest military operation in human history was starting. Ships were leaving ports all over the solar system. Captains were calling their crews back from leave. Weapons were being loaded and checked. War Commander Vexhai had sent his message expecting to wait 3 days for an answer. He thought Earth would need time to talk and argue and decide what to do. He was wrong. 6 hours after his message was sent, human warships were already moving toward his location. Admiral Carter had not spent time talking. He had not asked other countries what they thought. He had not worried about the cost or the risk. He had simply decided that no one threatens human families and gets away with it. Captain Jenkins stood on the bridge of Terra's Wrath as his ship and dozens of others flew through space toward the pirates. He thought about the message they would send when they arrived. It would not be a message asking to negotiate. It would not be a message offering to pay money. It would be a message that would change how the whole galaxy thought about humans forever. 2 days after the pirates took the New Horizon, Task Force Retribution arrived at the Kepler system. Captain Roy Jenkins stood on the bridge of Terra's Wrath and looked at the huge asteroid where the aliens had their base. The asteroid was as big as a small moon. It had been turned into a fortress with weapons and ship docks carved into the rock. Dozens of alien ships were flying around it like angry insects. Sir, we're getting a message from the pirates, said his communications officer, Lieutenant Dan Kelly. Put it on screen, Roy said. War Commander Vexhai appeared on the screen, but he looked different now. He seemed worried and confused. Human ships, you are not supposed to be here. We told your government to bring money, not warships. You will leave now or we will kill the hostages. Roy stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. This is Captain Jenkins of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 minutes to release every human civilian unharmed. This is not a negotiation. Vexhai's black eyes got wide. You cannot attack us. We have your people. If you fight, they will die. 30 minutes, Roy repeated and cut off the communication. The alien commander stared at his blank screen, not understanding what was happening. In his long career as a pirate, no government had ever brought warships instead of money. No species had ever risked their own people's lives to fight. War Commander, said his assistant, what do we do? They have many ships. They are bluffing, Vexhai said, but his voice was not confident. No one attacks when their own people might die. They will negotiate. They must negotiate. But Roy Jenkins was not bluffing. As the 30 minutes passed, he prepared his ships for battle. He called his captains on the radio. Listen carefully. Our job is to get those people out alive. That means we take risks that other militaries won't take. We get close. We hit hard. We don't stop until every human is safe. Meanwhile, inside the asteroid base, Dr. Lisa Grant was getting the hostages ready. She had been talking quietly to families all day, telling them what to do when the fighting started. Pete Williams had been busy too. He had found ways to mess with the alien computers without them knowing. The lights in the prison area kept going. Out. The doors kept opening and closing by themselves. The air recycling system was making strange noises. The aliens are getting angry about the computer problems, Kate Barnes whispered to Lisa. But they don't know it's us doing it. Lisa nodded. Good. When the shooting starts, Pete, can you shut down all the security systems in this section? Already ready to do it, Pete said with a smile. Just give me the signal. Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the asteroid base. The hostages could hear alien voices shouting in panic over the loudspeakers. The human ships are attacking. Lisa heard one alien yell. Outside in space, the battle had begun. The Earth ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but they fought in a way that shocked the pirates. Instead of staying far away and shooting safely, the human ships charged straight at the enemy. Captain Jenkins led the attack, taking Terra's wrath directly at the biggest alien ship. The pirates shot at him with powerful weapons, but he kept coming. Sir, we're taking heavy damage, his weapons officer shouted. Keep firing. We need to get to that asteroid, Roy shouted back. Other human ships were doing the same thing. They took terrible damage, but they never stopped moving toward their goal. The alien pirates had never seen anything like it. Most species fought to win with the smallest losses possible. Humans fought like they didn't care if they lived or died as long as they saved their people. Captain Susan Lee in the cruiser. Fighting spirit smashed her ship right through an alien destroyer to get closer to the asteroid. Her ship was badly damaged, but she kept fighting. All ships, this is Jenkins, Roy called on the radio. Boarding teams, get ready, we're going in. The Terra's Wrath crashed into the asteroid base, tearing a huge hole in the rock. Marines in spacesuits jumped out of the ship and into the alien base, fighting their way toward the prison areas. Sergeant Dan Murphy led the first team of Marines through the broken corridors of the asteroid. The aliens were shooting at them, but the humans kept moving forward. Where are our people? Dan shouted at an alien soldier he had captured. The alien pointed down a hallway with a shaking hand. Dan and his team ran toward the prison area. Inside the prison, Lisa heard the fighting getting closer. Now, Pete, shut everything down now. Pete pressed buttons on a small device he had built from ship parts. All the lights went out. All the doors opened. The security cameras stopped working. Everyone stay together, Lisa shouted to the hostages. Follow Kate, move toward the sounds of fighting. Kate Barnes led the families through the dark corridors. Parents carried small children. Older kids held hands so no one would get lost. They could hear the battle, raging all around them. War Commander Vexhai tried to run to the prison area to use the hostages as shields, but he found empty rooms. The humans were gone. Where are they? He screamed at his soldiers. We don't know, sir. All our systems are broken. That's when Sergeant Murphy and his Marines found them. The first thing Dan saw was a little human girl, maybe 6 years old, running toward him with her arms out. Are you here to save us? She asked. Yes, we are, Dan said, picking her up. We're taking everyone home. Behind the little girl came dozens of families led by Dr. Grant and Kate Barnes. They were scared but not broken. They had helped save themselves. How many people? Dan asked Dr. Grant. All of them, she said with tears in her eyes. Everyone is here. Everyone is alive. As the Marines escorted the hostages back to the human ships, the battle outside was ending. The alien pirates who weren't dead were running away. Their great fortress was in ruins. Captain Jenkins had kept his promise. Every human civilian was safe. And the galaxy was about to learn that threatening human families was the worst mistake anyone could make. After all the human hostages were safe on the Earth ships, Captain Roy Jenkins did something that surprised everyone, including his own crew. Instead of leaving the Kepler system, he ordered his ships to keep fighting. "Sir, we got our people back," said Lieutenant Dan Kelly. "Shouldn't we go home now?" Roy looked at the asteroid base where pieces of alien ships were still floating in space. Some pirate vessels had escaped, but many were still trying to hide behind the big rock. "No," Roy said simply. "We're not done yet." War Commander Vexhai was trapped in his command center deep inside the asteroid. Most of his ships were destroyed or damaged. His soldiers were running away or surrendering. He had never seen anything like this before. "Get me a communication line to the human captain," he ordered his remaining crew. "Yes, sir," a scared alien replied. Roy's face appeared on Vexhai's screen. The human captain looked tired but determined. "I want to talk about surrender," Vexhai said quickly. "We will give you anything you want. Money, information, weapons, just let us go." Roy was quiet for a moment. "You took our children, but we didn't hurt them. They are all safe. We kept our word." "You took our children," Roy repeated, as if the alien hadn't spoken. "You scared them. You made them think they would never see their families again." Vexhai didn't understand. "But this is business. This is how things work in space. Every species pays ransoms. We always let people go if they pay." "Maybe," Roy said, "but we're not every species." The communication ended, and Roy turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy everything. Every ship, every weapon, every building on that asteroid. I want nothing left. Sir, some of the aliens are trying to surrender. Then they can surrender to someone else. Today, they learn what happens when you threaten human families. For the next 6 hours, Task Force Retribution systematically destroyed everything the Zephyrian Collective had built. Ships that tried to escape were hunted down and destroyed. The great fortress carved into the asteroid was blown apart piece by piece. When it was over, the Kepler system was quiet. Where once there had been a powerful pirate base, now there was only floating debris and empty space. Captain Jenkins ordered his ships to capture War Commander Vexhai alive. The alien commander was brought to the Terra's Wrath in chains. "You don't understand," Vexhai said when he was brought before Roy. "This is not how things work. You cannot just destroy everything. There are rules about piracy in space. It is accepted. It is normal." Roy looked at the alien commander for a long time. "You're right. We don't understand, and we don't want to understand. But your people are safe. We did not hurt them. Why? Did you destroy everything? Because next time you might take someone else's children, or someone else might think they can take ours." Vexhai stared at the human captain. In all his years of piracy, he had never met anyone who thought like this. Every other species accepted that piracy was just part of doing business in space. They paid ransoms because it was cheaper than fighting. They negotiated because it saved lives. But humans were different. They fought not just to save their own people, but to make sure it never happened again. Back on Earth, President Amy Walsh was preparing to address the entire galaxy. Admiral Ben Carter stood beside her as she got ready to make the most important speech in human history. "Are you sure about this message, Madam President?" Ben asked. Amy looked at the script in her hands. It was short and simple, but it would change everything. "Ben, for too long, decent species have accepted that piracy is just the cost of doing business in space. They pay ransoms because they think it's easier than fighting. But what does that teach the pirates?" "That crime pays," Ben said. "Exactly. Well, today that changes." Amy stepped in front of the cameras. Her message would be broadcast on every communication frequency in the galaxy. Every species would hear it. "My name is Amy Walsh, President of Earth. 3 days ago, pirates took almost 3,000 human civilians hostage. They demanded 50 billion credits for their safe return. Today, I want to tell the galaxy how we responded." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "We did not negotiate. We did not pay. We sent our military to get our people back. Every human civilian is now safe. The pirate organization that took them no longer exists." Amy's voice got stronger as she continued. "To anyone listening across the galaxy, humans do not negotiate with those who threaten our people. We do not pay ransoms. We do not accept that piracy is just part of doing business. If you take our civilians, we will find you. We will rescue our people, and we will make sure you never threaten anyone again." The message was short, but it was heard by billions of beings across thousands of worlds. On the planet Altair Prime, President Zara Vex was watching the broadcast with her advisors. Her people had been paying ransoms to pirates for decades. "Can we do this too?" she asked her military commander. "It would be expensive," he replied, "and dangerous." But would it work? The commander thought about what he had just seen humans do. "Yes, I think it would work." On the trading world of Nexus Station, Merchant Captain Graal Toth was explaining to his crew why their next shipping route would avoid all areas where humans traveled. "The humans are crazy," one of his crew members said. "No," Graal replied, watching the debris field that used to be the Zephyrian base. "The humans are smart, they just refuse to play by the old rules." News reporter Tom Bradley was covering the story for Earth's biggest news network. He interviewed Dr. Lisa Grant, who had helped organize the hostages during their captivity. "Were you scared?" Tom asked her. "Of course I was scared," Lisa said. "But I knew Earth would come for us. I knew we don't abandon our people." "What do you think this means for the future?" Lisa smiled. "I think pirates are going to have to find a new line of work." As word spread across the galaxy, something interesting started to happen. Other species began to copy what humans had done. Instead of paying ransoms, they sent warships. Instead of accepting piracy as normal, they fought back. War Commander Vexhai, now in a human prison, watched the news reports with growing amazement. The entire galactic economy was changing because of what one species had decided to do. "I still don't understand," he told his human guard. "Why did you risk so much for people you don't even know?" The guard, a young soldier named Kevin Park, looked at the alien prisoner. "Because they're human," Kevin said simply. "That's enough." 6 months after the destruction of the Zephyrian Collective, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship. It was called the Second Chance, and it was much different from the old New Horizon. This ship had weapons. It had armor. It also had 3 Earth Defense Force destroyers flying alongside it as guards. Jake was taking another group of families to Haven's Rest, but this time, no one was worried about pirates. "Captain, we're getting a message from a ship asking for help," said his communications officer, Lisa Park. "What kind of help?" Jake asked. "It's a merchant vessel from the Centauri system. They say pirates are chasing them and they want to know if we can protect them." Jake smiled. "Tell them to come close to our convoy. Any pirates show up, they'll have to deal with human warships." 20 minutes later, the alien merchant ship was flying safely next to the human convoy. The pirates who had been chasing it were nowhere to be seen. Word had spread across the galaxy. Don't attack ships when humans are around. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant was sitting in a big meeting room with representatives from dozens of alien species. She was now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Trade Council, and today they were voting on new laws about piracy. "The proposal is simple," Lisa told the room full of aliens. "Any species that has citizens taken by pirates will not pay ransoms. Instead, they will work together to hunt down the pirates and destroy them completely." An alien delegate from the Vegan Republic raised his hand. "Ambassador Grant, this seems very violent. In the past, we have found that negotiation saves more lives." Lisa looked at him calmly. "How many of your people have been taken by pirates in the last 6 months?" "Well, none, actually." "And how many were taken in the 6 months before humans started fighting back?" The alien checked his notes. 47 of our citizens were kidnapped for ransom." "I rest my case," Lisa said. The vote was not even close. Every species in the council agreed to adopt what they now called the human doctrine: no more ransoms. No more accepting piracy as normal business. On the planet Altair Prime, President Zara Vex was meeting with her military advisors. Her people had followed the human example and destroyed 3 pirate groups in the last 4 months. "How are our shipping lanes?" she asked General Cordnas. "Completely safe, Madam President. Pirate attacks in our space have dropped to 0. Our merchants can travel without fear for the first time in decades. And the cost? Less than we used to spend on ransoms and much less than we lost to stolen cargo. Zara nodded. The humans had been right. Fighting back was not only the right thing to do, it was also cheaper in the long run. Meanwhile, at the human military academy on Luna, young officers were studying the Battle of Kepler as an example of human tactics. Professor Neil Roberts, a former captain in the Earth Defense Force, was teaching a class about the rescue mission. The key thing to understand, he told his students, is that humans approach hostage situations differently than other species. We don't see hostages as acceptable losses. We see them as people who must be saved no matter the cost. A student raised her hand. Professor, wasn't that strategy very risky? What if the hostages had been killed during the fighting? It was risky, Professor Roberts admitted. But Captain Jenkins and his team knew something important. If we had paid the ransom, it would have told every pirate in the galaxy that taking humans was profitable. More humans would have been taken in the future. Another student asked, so the mission was not just about saving those specific people? Exactly. It was about making sure no humans would ever be taken again. And it worked. On the prison planet where War Commander Vexhai was kept, the former pirate leader spent his days trying to understand what had happened to him. He was allowed to read news reports and watch educational programs about human culture. A human prison. Counselor named Gary Mills visited him every week to talk. I have been thinking about what you said, Vexhai told Gary during one of their meetings. About humans being different. What conclusion did you reach? Gary asked. Other species think about the cost of fighting versus the cost of paying. They choose what seems cheaper and easier, but humans think about what is right and what is wrong. Gary nodded. That's a good way to put it. But it makes no sense from a practical viewpoint, Vexhai continued. The hostages were safe. We always released people who were ransomed. Why risk their lives fighting? Because, Gary said patiently, the next group of hostages might not be so lucky. And the group after that. When you accept evil as normal, you guarantee that evil will continue. Vexhai was quiet for a long time. So humans fight not just for today, but for tomorrow. Now you're starting to understand. At Haven's Rest, the colony that the original hostages had been trying to reach, the settlement was thriving. The families who had been rescued were building new homes and new lives. Their children played in the streets without fear, knowing that the galaxy was a safer place because of what their parents had survived. Captain Jake Morrison visited the colony whenever his ship passed through the system. He liked to walk through the town and see how the families were doing. Captain Morrison, called a young voice. It was Emma Watson, the 6-year-old girl who had run to Sergeant Dan Murphy during the rescue. Hello, Emma. How are you liking your new home? It's wonderful, she said with a big smile. My daddy says we're safe here because humans don't let bad people hurt kids. Jake knelt down to talk to her at eye level. That's right, Emma. We don't let bad people hurt anyone if we can help it. Will there always be people like you to protect us? Jake looked around the peaceful colony, then back at the little girl. Yes, Emma. There will always be people like us. As Jake walked back to his ship, he thought about how much had changed. The galaxy was not perfect, but it was better. Pirates still existed, but they were careful about who they attacked. Species that used to accept crime as normal now fought back. Children like Emma could grow up without fear. The final test of the new reality came when a young alien named Kex Vor was thinking about becoming a pirate. He had seen the old recordings of successful ransom operations and thought it looked like easy money. But then he watched the news footage of the Battle of Kepler. He saw the complete destruction of the Zephyrian collective. He read about what happened to pirates who attacked ships with humans on them. Kex Vor decided to become a merchant instead. And somewhere in space, another convoy of human families traveled safely to their new home, protected not just by warships, but by the knowledge that humanity had sent a clear message to the galaxy. We protect our own, no matter what it costs, no matter how long it takes, and no matter who tries to stop us. The age of easy ransoms was over. The age of human protection had begun.